Hello everybody and welcome back to the Silicon Nubian YouTube channel where we're all about things tech. As promised, my previous video we looked at the installation process for Deepin Linux version 15.7, and in this video we're going to take a little look at the desktop. Now what you see in front of you is directly post installation. You can tell the resolution is a little bit off. That will change as we log in. I wanted to show you from first login. I haven't logged in at all post-installation to show the setup options that Deepin Linux does present to you. So let's talk a little bit about Deepin before we go deeper into it. Bad pun intended. Deepin is a Chinese-based Debian distribution. It was Ubuntu-based until version 15. This is version 15.7. And its aim is to provide an elegant and user-friendly and reliable operating system. Includes a lot of good software, tons of custom software, and its own desktop environment called DDE, which is short for Deepin Desktop Environment, which is based on the Qt5 toolkit. And it really focuses, the developers really focus on intuitive design, lots of homegrown applications, as was previously mentioned, a nice looking software center, and basically a great OS or distribution for those who are new to Linux or even those who are more seasoned. So let's log in. So right away we can see that Deepin is recognizing that we're in a virtual machine, and it's asking us, system has detected that you are using a virtual machine, which will affect the system performance. So we have two modes we can go. We can use effect mode or common mode. Effect mode, having smooth and delicate experience. Common mode, enjoy its fast performance. Effect mode is more of, we get a lot more detail with respect to desktop effects and whatnot, so we're going to choose that. So we log in to Deepin, to the default desktop. Once again, I haven't logged in yet. And right away we are greeted with a video showing us some of the features of the Deepin desktop environment and how to navigate them. So that's very, very interesting. So that's the first thing that we get, which is really cool. I think as a new user, or even a seasoned user, if you've never used Deepin before, you'd want to sit down and let this run through to get an idea of how to best use your desktop most efficiently right from the start. Let's skip it right now. Okay, then we're asked to choose a desktop mode, fashion mode, or efficient mode. Fashion being more fancy with respect to desktop effects, shadings, and whatnot. That's the default. We'll leave it there. We're also asked to either run the desktop with disabled window effects or enable the window effects. We'll leave it as enabled. And we're asked to choose the icon theme. Now, all of this can be changed. All these things can be changed later, which I'll probably show you. But I really think it shows the attention to detail that the developers have with respect to giving you all of this in the beginning so you don't have to deal with it afterwards. It just makes customization a lot simpler as it presents some of the more common things that you would do afterwards right at the beginning after first boot up. So we have different icon themes. We have the Deepin icon theme, Maria, Papyrus, and C. We're going to just stick with the Deepin icon theme. We can see up here that we have pop-ups that tell us what's going on, telling us that the program cache has been cleaned. So there's stuff going on in the background. So we'll choose that, and here we are, finally at the Deepin desktop. And it looks very clean. Let's poke around. Right-clicking as I do will bring up pretty common choices, new documents, icon size. We don't have any icons on the desktop yet, but that's a simple thing to do. Open a terminal. We have display settings, corner settings, and set wallpaper. We do have hot corners, so you can see here we have a launcher in this corner, a closed window, and all windows. So we have a little video representation, and we can choose what the corner will do. Very nice. Okay, we can set the wallpaper. And interesting, if you select a wallpaper, it's asking you, do you only want it for the desktop or do you want it for the lock screen? So that's an interesting thing as well. Very well thought out. So let's look at the bottom and see what we have here. We have the trash, which of course is just basically another folder. Here we have a trash folder. We have our clock with our time and the calendar. And right-clicking on these will give us not much options. Here we have the networking, and that's going to pop up our control center, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Here we have the power options. Do we want to shut down, reboot, suspend, lock, log out? Here we have the control center, which we're going to get to real soon. The default web browser is Google Chrome. And here we have a few of the Deepin custom applications. We have Deepin Movie, video player, Deepin Music, and we have the Software Center, well, the Deepin Store. We have the Deepin File Manager, which is their custom file manager, simple but very effective. We have the multitasking view, show desktop, and we have the launcher. So let's take a look at the launcher. The launcher, if I remember, is very GNOME-esque in how it looks. And you could see that you can either have it this way. And by the way, Deepin does not ship with a bucket load of applications. It does ship with a very good selection though. But being Linux, installing applications is quite simple. So we have this view, which looks a lot like GNOME. And if we can change the view to a category view. So here we have internet apps. We can go to music, video apps, graphics. We could see that Office, WPS Office suite is the default Office suite for those who are users of LibreOffice, and there's nothing wrong at all with WPS Office. It's quite a very capable Office suite. Not as extensive as LibreOffice, but very, very capable. And launching is just simple as that. Getting LibreOffice is absolutely dirt simple to do. There we go. Very fast. And there's an update, but we won't get into that. We'll talk about system updates in a bit. So let's look a little bit more of what's included. So for internet, as we said, we have Google Chrome. For emails, we have Thunderbird Mail, music, Deepin Voice Recorder, Deepin Screen Recorder, Deepin Movie. For graphics, we have Deepin Screenshot, Deepin Image Viewer, we have Office Suite, we have Deepin Cloud Print, Deepin Cloud Scan, Simple Scan, Print Settings, which is the typical Linux print dialog box that we've all seen before many times. We have the Document Viewer, System, we have the Deepin File Manager, Deepin Store, Deepin. You see what I'm saying? It basically ships with their own, pretty much their own software, their own custom software, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, you could always add your own. Let's take a quick look at computer. Brings up the file manager again. Okay. Show desktop, trash, control center, multitasking, Deepin system monitor. Let's just take a quick look. We can see that right now, with only this open, we are using just over a gigabyte of RAM. Gigabyte, sorry. So Deepin's not the most svelte or trim desktop environment. Their desktop environment's very extensive with all the eye candy and the attention to detail. That all adds to the memory footprint, and we can see that it does have somewhat of a memory footprint. The system monitor, while it's using only 22 megs of RAM, the total use of RAM as shown here is 1.1 gig. I have to tell you that this is directly post-install, and there are lots of updates to install, and this can go down or possibly up after the installation of all those updates. With respect to CPU, it's jumping up and down. There's obviously a lot of stuff running in the background. And here we have a network activity which doesn't show anything. So one application open, but we have 147 processes running. That's quite a bit. That being said, again, I don't know if I really want to take points off for that. It's not a light OS, okay? I don't believe you're going to be running this on a Pentium 4 with 1 gig of RAM. But you don't need a very high-end computer to run this. No, I'm just saying, just bear that in mind. It's not the lightest of Linux. I don't believe it's the heaviest, but it's not the lightest. So let's get out of here. In terms of system resources and whatnot, but any modern computer over the last 4 or 5 years should be able to handle Deepin very well. I would highly recommend at least a dual-core processor with 4 gigs of RAM. Even the AMD APU would be able to run this quite effectively. One of the biggest boosts you can get anyways in performance is the addition of an SSD as a boot and system drive. And compare that with 4 gigs of RAM, preferably 8, and you'll have a very snappy system. So let's continue. So let's look at this software center that they have. It's quite a pretty thing. So it's loading. One thing about performance that I have to say, what I've noticed, if it can continue to load, that's unusual, is that performance in a virtual machine is hit or miss depending on the distribution that I use, and it's giving me a network error. Isn't that beautiful? I got another idea. Let's go to the control center. Okay, so this is the control center. This is, I think, one of the best things about Deepin. Again, you either love it or you hate it. It's the place where everything is in terms of system configuration and dealing with the minutiae of your system. We can go to accounts, display settings, default application, sound, of course. Here, updates are detected. We should run the updates and come back. We can go to personalization, time and date, power management, mouse, keyboard and language, updates, system information. We have quick access to the brightness control if you're on a mobile device, as well as the main volume control for the mixer. And if we scroll, we have the weather app here. It's showing us our temperature present. Scroll again, and it's showing us things that have happened. It's just like a notification, much like in Windows 10. So let's say we go to accounts. Here we have this control center bar, and accounts here, we can create the account, we can modify our own existing account, avatar, whatever. But one thing I have to show you is if we go to accounts, now we have all the access here to the same icons that are here. But if you can also scroll in it and get access to everything, and it's quite an extensive number of things that can be done with respect to configuring and customizing the system from this center here. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's something that will take getting used to. Most people are used to a folder that opens with a bunch of icons, and each icon represents a tool to adjust some kind of property, system property. Here we can scroll down, we can get access to everything from the same interface, double-click speed, we go to mouse speed, keyboard and language, system updates, and whatnot. So I noticed that our Deepin store is not working. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video now. Oh, there it's working. I don't have to pause the video. I guess we just had a little issue there. I was going to run the updates, but it's working fine now. I should really run updates, and my mode of making all of these videos is that I do usually log in, run all the available updates up to the moment I'm going to film the video and get it done. I didn't do it this time, and because I wanted to show you the new user experience, or the first time user experience, as you log into Deepin for the first time. So here we have, for example, if I go to Thunderbird, it'll give me comments about it, some reviews. You can tell that Deepin is a Chinese source distribution. Not everything's in English with respect to the reviews, but the OS itself is running in English fine. So if I wanted to install Firefox Quantum, we could see the latest version available, 60.0.1. And we can see we can ask for an update as well right within here. And we can look at what's happening. Somebody says in Spanish it's consuming a lot of memory. doesn't consume a lot of memory, sorry. Let's go back. So we have a lot of things we could do. We could search. We can do a lot of things in here. It's quite a pretty looking thing, quite a pretty looking store. Functionality wise, it's okay. I don't think there's anything potentially negative about it. I mean, everything seems to be here. Let's go. And he even has hints. There we go. LibreOffice. There we go. And it shows the version, the release date for the version, how many downloads, the ratings, 8.5, and then we can easily update it. And we have we can check out some of the reviews, and we can get that done. So it's very simple. I just click on install, and that's it. Let's continue diving a little bit deeper. I want to go back to the control center. And I want to go to the top for a second. Okay, so we have display scaling, resolution, brightness, rotate, default applications, personalization, theme, font, enable window effect. You see, when we were booting up, Deepin asked us about all of this, and we set it at the beginning, right after booting up. And I really like that, but you still have the option of changing everything. And it's right here, it's all in one place. Wire network, we want DSL, want to set up a VPN, network details. I'll test everything here. Sound, left, right balance, microphone, feedback, and then we have advanced. And then we could select the input and output. Sound effects are on, time and date. Power management, monitor will suspend after how long, computer will suspend after never. Password required to wake up, password required, mouse and keypad. They're not the most extensive in terms of options when you dig deeper, but for the vast majority of users, this is more than you need. Absolutely. This is just great. Keyboard and language, and we have updates. So here it's going to go out and check for updates. So while it's doing that, let me speak a little bit about a few points of Deepin. Oh, we have Deepin here. New system edition and 4 application updates. So a new system edition. So 174.52 megabytes of updates ready to install. And we have another app, Deepin Graphics Driver Manager, which I did not show you, and I should have. That's another app that I've seen in, for example, Linux Mint, I believe, where it'll look for proprietary drivers if you are someone who runs with NVIDIA or AMD graphics hardware, and it'll try to get that for you and give you the option to use the open source driver or use the proprietary driver. So we see we have system patches and system updates, desktop file manager ready to update, font installer, and the graphics driver manager, which I was mentioned just now, and WPS Office ready to update. But it's telling us system edition. So this is version 1507. Potentially there were new images released, and this will bring us up to the latest version. So that's absolutely good. So let's just wrap it up here. I don't want to be too long. I really like Deepin. Now there's been some controversy out there with respect to Deepin and monitoring and other things. I'm not going to get into all of that, okay? Google Analytics is just as bad. That being said, I just think that Deepin is something that needs to be tried. You should really give it a try. Kick the tires. It is a very well done distribution. It's got a solid Debian base, extremely well done. The Deepin Desktop environment is, from what I can see and what I've used so far, an absolute pleasure to use without any issues at all. At least I haven't encountered anything that I would consider a showstopper. Right? Just sent the icon to the desktop. Performance, I can't really comment that much. Some distributions do a lot better in a virtual machine than others. Deepin is like so-so. I'm sure on real hardware it would be much snappier, although I don't find it that bad. The browser did take a little while to launch, and then once you launch it the first time, it's not a problem. Performance is quite good. I don't have any issues with performance. I think for a daily driver, it would be very good. Like I said, any modern system will be able to run Deepin without a problem, and you don't have to have a high-end system. Intel Pentium, dual core or quad core, 4 gigs of RAM, preferably 8, and you've got yourself a very functional system. You even have an older, maybe Core 2 Dual or Quad sitting around, and you have 8 gigs of RAM in it. You can throw Deepin on there, and you've got a modern Linux distribution that'll do quite well. So I know on my last time I looked at Deepin, I wasn't that impressed, but as I've gotten a little deeper, again, bad joke, pun intended, I'm sorry, I've come to really appreciate this Linux distribution and appreciate the attention to detail that the developers have put into it. So that's my quick overview of Deepin Linux. I would say give it a try, kick the tires a bit. If you have real hardware, that's a preferable way to test it out if you got a spare machine hanging around. If not, give it a try in a desktop environment like I am, a virtual machine. And you can comment down and tell me what your experiences have been. Thanks for watching us. You can always reach us on our 2 Facebook groups, one hardware based and the other one is just general tech news and reviews and information, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.